Welcome to this edition of the Head to Head Podcast. I'm your host, Cam McKinney, and this is episode number 142 of the podcast. And in this edition of the podcast, I'm talking about the Boston Red Sox trading outfielder Andrew Benintendi to the Kansas City Royals. This move should absolutely surprise no one. The Red Sox have been talked about trading Andrew Benintendi all offseason long. There were rumors that he was going to be shipped to the Florida Marlins, but instead he ends up with the Kansas City Royals. But for some reason, the Red Sox mission has been to trade outfielder Andrew Benintendi. And I believe that is a huge mistake for the organization moving forward. I don't understand why you give up on a guy right before he's about to enter into his prime years of being a baseball player. It makes absolutely no sense to me. There was a lot of hype around Andrew Benintendi when he was a prospect. All the talk that he was going to be the next Fred Lynn, that he had MVP potential, that he was going to win 2 batting titles easily. And then in his first full season with the Red Sox, he has a .271 batting average, 20 home runs, and 90 RBIs. And the only reason he didn't win Rookie of the Year because Andrew Judge walked in and hit like 50 home runs as a rookie. And a lot of people forget that first half of the season, Aaron Judge was the best rookie in the American League by far. But in that second half, Andrew Benintendi was a better player than Aaron Judge for most of that second half of their rookie seasons. And then the following year, Benintendi follows that up with a .290 batting average, 16 home runs, and 87 RBIs as the Red Sox win the World Series and won a franchise record 108 wins. And he was a big part of that core nucleus, along with Betts, Bogarts, Martinez, Bradley, and Devers. That was that core. And to just think 2 years later, most of that core has been broken up. It's just kind of insane to think about it, that the people that remain from that team are JD Martinez and Chris Sale, while those young players like Betts and Andrew Benintendi are now playing for other teams. Betts is on the Dodgers, and he's become a 2-time World Series winner now because he won the World Series with the Dodgers in his first year. And now Andrew Benintendi is on the Kansas City Royals. That's just something I cannot fathom, that those veteran players who are past their primes are gone. The Red Sox are left with Chris Sale and JD Martinez, while Betts and Benintendi are going to be in their prime years for other ball clubs. I just can't fathom that. And yes, the last 2 seasons, Andrew Benintendi has not been very good. 2019 was not a great year for the young outfielder, as he only hit .266 with 68 RBIs. But let's not criticize him for his 2020 like most people are. He only played in 14 games. And when he played, he looked really bad. He only hit .103, but those 14 games doesn't mean anything. You don't give up on a young outfielder as he's about to enter his prime baseball years, which for me are between ages 27 and 31. That's when you are going to see what Andrew Benintendi is. That was when you were going to get a clear answer of if he's going to live up to his potential. You cannot make that estimation before year 26. That makes absolutely no sense. If there was all that hype around Andrew Benintendi and then he never had a good year in the big leagues, then I would understand this trade a lot more. But his first 2 full seasons in the big leagues, he kind of lived up to that potential. Now, he wasn't an MVP, he didn't win a batting title, but he was an all-star caliber type baseball player. Like in the coming years, you could have seen Benintendi become an all-star, and the last 2 have not been good. But I just don't understand moving him now. And another point I want to make, I thought the whole reason they brought back Alex Cora was to get the very best out of guys like Bogarts, Devers, and Andrew Benintendi, because all of those guys had their best years with Alex Cora as their manager. I just don't see the point of bringing back Alex Cora back if you're going to break this group up before their prime years. You want to get the very best out of Andrew Benintendi, not to send him away to the Kansas City Royals. It just doesn't make any sense. Another argument that I hate that I've heard from Red Sox fans in the media is that they now have Alex Verdugo, so they don't need Benintendi because both players are really similar. Let me tell you this right now. The Red Sox are not good enough to ship away good players because they're similar. They don't have enough good players to ship away one of them because he's similar to one that they already have. They need as many good ball players on this club as humanly possible. And now with Benintendi gone, you have a huge question mark when it comes to the outfield. Yes, they just signed guys like Kiki Hernandez and Marwin Gonzalez, but really your only caliber everyday outfielder is Alex Verdugo. Hunter Renfroe is not going to be enough for you to be able to compete for a playoff position this year. And maybe that's what the Red Sox aren't doing. They basically already admitted they're not really trying to compete this year. Sam Kennedy has said that as much to the media. But you should still be trying to grow as a baseball team and turn Andrew Benintendi into an all-star caliber player, not ship him away to the Kansas City Royals. This is probably my biggest argument against this trade. The Red Sox traded Andrew Benintendi because he's never lived up to those expectations, but yet they kept Jackie Bradley Jr. around forever, and he's never lived up to his hype whatsoever. He's a really good defensive player, but when it comes to his offense, he's been consistently inconsistent. Yet the Red Sox have kept him around, hoping that one day he's going to turn into a really good offensive player, and it never happened. Yet the Red Sox kept Jackie Bradley Jr. around, even when it was obvious to all around that he was never going to live up to that early hype of being a really good all-around baseball player. Yet the Red Sox kept him around. Why did they do that? Because there was always that potential. They didn't want to give up on him, and I could see why. But now you're giving up on Andrew Benintendi, a player who's clearly better offensively than a guy like Jackie Bradley Jr. I just can't see the argument of, I'm going to keep Jackie Bradley Jr. around, but the guy I'm going to trade away is Andrew Benintendi. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Andrew Benintendi is the kind of guy you don't give up on, and Jackie Bradley Jr. is the type of guy you do give up on. Their situation should be vice versa. Benintendi should be on the Red Sox, and Bradley Jr. should have no hope of returning to this team. Another situation that's similar to what's happening with Andrew Benintendi and the Red Sox is Gary Sanchez with the Yankees. Sanchez has proven he's one of the most powerful hitting catchers in baseball today, but he's been really inconsistent throughout his career with the Yankees. He's a really bad offensive catcher, and he struggled at the plate. He's a strikeout machine, but yet the Yankees have kept him around because of his potential. He is too young to give up on. He's only 28 years old, and the Yankees know that if they give up on Gary Sanchez, he would just go to a smaller market team and hit a load of home runs for them. The Yankees are not giving up on Gary Sanchez because he's super talented, and the Red Sox should feel the exact same way about Andrew Benintendi, but for some reason they didn't. They gave up on Andrew Benintendi and shipped him away to the Kansas City Royals. That's the type of thing that big markets do to small markets. They take a guy like Andrew Benintendi who's struggling on a small market team, and then the big market team comes in and trades for him. That's exactly what happened with Aaron Hicks in the Yankees. Aaron Hicks was a prospect for the Minnesota Twins. He was struggling mightily, and the Yankees traded for him, and he turned his career around. It's supposed to happen the other way. The Red Sox are supposed to be trading for players like Andrew Benintendi, not the other way around, and that's why I'm frustrated with the Red Sox situation right now. Chaim Bloom is turning them into being like a small market team. They are the ones who are supposed to go out and find the players who haven't lived up to their potential yet and steal them away from those smaller market teams, not the other way around. The Red Sox should be acquiring players like Andrew Benintendi, not trading them away. That's my biggest issue with this trade overall. You don't give up on a guy like Andrew Benintendi. You try to get those type of guys from other teams. The Red Sox are a big market team who's now acting like a small market team, and it's driving me insane. It's funny that this trade is happening with the Kansas City Royals because the Kansas City Royals once had a top outfield prospect not live up to to his potential, and his name was Alex Gordon. Alex Gordon was proclaimed to be the next George Brett at third base. He didn't live up to the hype. Then he moved his positions to outfield, and he became one of the best defensive outfielders of his era and ended up going to 2 World Series with the Royals and winning one of them. The Royals didn't give up on Alex Gordon, even though he went through a ton of struggles. That's why you don't give up on players who are about to enter their primes. Alex Gordon was not going to be George Brett. Andrew Benintendi was probably not going to be Fred Lynn, but there was still that chance that Andrew Benintendi could have turned into something special and something worth keeping on your team. This idea that Andrew Benintendi is exactly what he's going to be in the next 5 years is ridiculous. You can say all you want. I'm not even guaranteeing that Benintendi is going to turn into some superstar MVP candidate, but what I am saying is he's not going to be what he is right now. If you're super down on him, there's a chance he's going to get a lot better. If you're super up on him, there's even the potential he's going to get worse. But right now is not what Andrew Benintendi is going to be in 3 or 4 years. And that's the mistake of trading him right now, is that you have no idea what he is. The Royals didn't give up on Alex Gordon, even though he was going through all those struggles, because they knew at that moment he isn't what he was going to become. And what he became was pretty good. A Gold Glove outfielder who ended up with a World Series title. I'm just saying that now this argument that now is the time to get rid of Andrew Benintendi is ridiculous. There are so many other top prospects who struggle way more than Benintendi has that teams won't give up on. The Twins have Byron Buxton. Byron Buxton has never been able to put it together. He's a defensive wizard, but offensively he struggled mightily. Yet the Minnesota Twins won't give up on him. Why? Because he's not in his prime years. You don't give up on a baseball player when he's about to enter those prime years. And to give up on Andrew Benintendi before he's 30 years old, I think is a massive, massive mistake. Not to mention, it's not a good look for the Red Sox in back-to-back off seasons to trade 2 young outfielders who are not yet into their prime years. Now, Mookie Betts, again, this isn't the same situation. Mookie Betts is the second best player on planet Earth, so this isn't the same situation. But it's still not a good look to trade the second best player on Earth and then in the next offseason trade another young outfielder who has potential. That's what Andrew Benintendi has. He's not a star player, but he has potential to grow into something somewhat special. I'm not saying Benintendi is going to become Mookie Betts. I'm not even saying he's going to become an all-star. I'm saying you giving up on him right now is ridiculous, because right now you don't know what he is. And again, I'll say this again and again. It is a bad look that Mookie Betts and Andrew Benintendi are not on this team, yet Chris Sale and JD Martinez are. That's not how I saw this going when they won the World Series in 2018. I was expecting a decade of Betts, Bogaerts, Devers, and Benintendi. And now 2 of those 4 players are gone, and you're left with Chris Sale and JD Martinez, who have massively bad contracts, but yet you don't want to keep Andrew Benintendi to see what he's going to turn into. That doesn't make any sense to me. And again, it's not all Chaim Bloom's fault. He's not the one who paid Chris Sale, and he's not the one who paid JD Martinez. But in 2018, if you had told me that there would be no more Mookie Betts on the Red Sox and no more Andrew Benintendi in 3 years, I would have thought you were ridiculous. That would never have happened. But yet, that's exactly what has happened, and what you're left with is Chris Sale and JD Martinez. For me, that's the most ludicrous thing about the Red Sox right now. Their young core is being traded away while they're left with these veterans who are either injured or are now underperforming. That's what JD Martinez did last year. He underperformed. Maybe he's going to bounce back. I have no idea what the rest of Chris Sale's tenure with the Red Sox is going to look like, but I'll say this, I'd rather Andrew Benintendi on the team than those 2 players. And I feel like I'm in the majority on that one. Why are we left with these veterans and giving up on these young outfielders with all-star potential? Again, Mookie Betts has lived up to his potential fully, but you don't even know what Andrew Benintendi is yet. I understand that they need to rebuild their farm system because Dave Dombrowski traded everything away to get a guy like Chris Sale and to get guys like that. But those aren't the players you should be trading trading away. You shouldn't be trading away 26-year-old outfielders because they're about to enter their prime. That's the whole reason you drafted Andrew Benintendi 7th overall. Not so that his best years would be in years like 24 and 25? No, you drafted him for his prime years because most baseball players' primes are from ages 27 to 31. You have not seen the best of Andrew Benintendi, and you've probably already seen the worst. So to not at least play it out, again, I'm saying you should not have given up on Andrew Benintendi until at least age 30. That's my mark, because if you give up on these guys, they turn into something with their other teams. That's exactly what happened with Aaron Hicks and the Yankees, and that's exactly what's probably going to happen with Andrew Benintendi and the Kansas City Royals. You are going to regret this trade because Andrew Benintendi is not what you think he is. He is not what he is going to be in the next 3 or 4 years. I think he's going to be a lot better, in fact, than what we've seen from him. Maybe he's going to revert to that 90 RBI guy, but that's exactly what you need. You need a guy like Andrew Benintendi, not to be trading him away. The reason I think a lot of fans are on board with this trade is because Andrew Benintendi is one of these players who plays baseball and looks like a natural. When he plays, it looks effortless. So when he plays bad, it looks really bad to watch because it looks like he's not putting in a lot of effort. It's like a Robinson Cano type. So when you see guys like that struggle, you're like, get rid of him. He's not even trying to be better. But I don't see it that way. I think Andrew Benintendi has a sweet swing. I don't think he's going to be a massive power hitter, but will I take a 280 batting average, 20 home runs and 80 RBIs? Absolutely. And that's what he's going to revert back into. He's going to be that guy. So to give up on him just because you don't like the way he plays, I think is ridiculous. And that's why I think fans are down on him. I have no idea why the Red Sox are down on him. I feel like modern day baseball just doesn't appreciate a hitter like Benintendi. They only appreciate power hitters like Aaron Judge and Nelson Cruz. They don't appreciate the Andrew Benintendis of the world. Remember when Curtis Granderson was hitting 20 homers, 20 triples, 20 doubles? That's the type of player that Andrew Benintendi could turn into, but that type of player is no longer appreciated in today's baseball game. A guy who can do 20 of everything, 20 homers, 20 doubles, 20 triples, 20 steals. That's the type of potential that Andrew Benintendi has, but yet we only appreciate guys who hit 40 homers. I mean, this is a guy who in back-to-back seasons in 2018 and 2019 hit 40 doubles. That's the type of player that they don't appreciate in today's game because they're like, turn those doubles into homers and we'll love you. But that's not the case. I think Andrew Benintendi has the chance to be a complete baseball player. He's not going to turn into Joey Gallo and hit 40 home runs, but he could turn into a Curtis Granderson type of ball player, and that's the type of ball player that, frankly, I think the Red Sox need right now. Some of this also just feels like the Red Sox are turning Andrew Benintendi into the scapegoat of last season, even though he only played in 14 games. Fans talk about like he struggled for the entire season. The guy hit 103 in 14 games. So let me get this straight. If Rafael Devers misses most of next year, hits 103 that year, are you going to want the Red Sox to give up on him too? I mean, where does it end? A guy can't struggle for a bit and then you at least see how it plays out with his potential. These guys have potential. Maybe Devers has more potential than a guy like Benintendi, but are you going to give up on him in the first sign of trouble? Like, you don't give up on these type of players just because they struggled for a year or two. And even the year he so-called struggled with a 268 batting average and 66 RBIs, he hasn't struggled nearly as much as a guy like Jackie Bradley Jr., who you did not give up on. Their thinking of Andrew Benintendi makes absolutely no sense. They are looking at him like he's the problem, where I think they should have viewed him as part of the solution to their problem. You want a guy like that to be a homegrown talent and help you build a core winning consistent team. Remember in the mid-2000s with that core, they had Pedroia, they had Lester, they had Ellsbury. Most of that team, Kevin Youkilis, that was a homegrown team that went on to win a World Series, and even some of that that core went to be a part of the 2013 World Series. That's what this core should have become. The core should have been Betts, Bogaerts, Devers, Benintendi, maybe Bradley sticks around, and you win some World Series rings. Now you've broken most of that team apart, and for me, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And one of the most confusing moves is trading Andrew Benintendi to the Kansas City Royals. The Red Sox are a big market team who's now acting like a small market team, and I hope this doesn't last much longer because, again, the Red Sox should be the type of team that acquires players like Andrew Benintendi from small market teams, not the other way around. I believe the Red Sox will regret trading 26-year-old outfielder Andrew Benintendi. Thanks for listening to this edition of the Head to Head Podcast. I'm Cam McKinney. There'll be a new episode of the podcast every Monday on Apple Podcasts and iTunes, so please rate, review, and subscribe.